You know, I'm getting kind of sick of these shows. I have YouTube TV, and I watch all. I can watch any channel I want on YouTube TV. But I watch your regular shows that probably all of you watch. But I noticed something that's going on. It's like every show has they have to have like a social worker or a therapist or a psychiatrist on the writing team, and they can't break the rules of what's what's considered science. I mean, psychiatry itself is not science. It's bogus science because there's nothing. It's not like chemistry where they can put two chemicals together and create another chemical or a reaction. With psychiatry, it's too arbitrary. It's like food. You know, food science is really hard because so many people eat so many different things. It's hard to say that this is what's causing it or this is what does it. And that's how they get away with a lot of the crap they pull with um, ingredients that are no good. They say, oh, it's not the ingredient. You can't prove it. With psychiatry, they can't prove it either. And that's why they're getting away. That's why it's become such a big thing in our society, psychiatry, because they can bill insurance. They can lock you up in a hospital and have zero evidence. They don't need any evidence. They just need a psychiatrist to sign off on it. And that's like so easy to do. It's unreal. And when they make money off of signing off on it, I mean, how can you trust them? How can you say they're not going to sign off on it and you really didn't do anything wrong and don't have anything wrong with you? Uh, they make money, and when they get the money in the back, look, remember the old days when the doctors they didn't make any money. I mean, they weren't poor, but they weren't making the money they're making today, and they were honest then. You trusted your doctor back then. You knew he wasn't gonna give you a drug you didn't need because he was making a sidekick, putting something in his pocket. And nowadays, they're just mouthpieces for the pharmaceutical companies. They're there for the pharmaceutical companies. They're not there to help you. Uh, if you say you're a little anxious, then all of a sudden you got a prescription for Xanax. And Xanax is the worst drug you could ever go on, you know. And I mean, I guess if you need it, that's fine, but so many people are on it that don't need it. Like Oxy. How many people were Oxycontin that didn't need it? And they gave it out like candy, because they were getting kickbacks. And, they're still doing it with different drugs. They don't do it with Oxy anymore. It's very hard to get Oxy these days, because of the backlash. But Xanax and all the other drugs and the psych drugs, I mean, I'm on a psych drug that costs $2,000 a month. And you don't think the doctor's getting a kickback out of that, and the hospital and the nurse that gives it to me? They're all making a lot of money. They're all making a lot of money. And I don't need it. There's nothing wrong with me. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not fighting it. I'm not making this video or making this argument to get off medication. I don't care. But it is a scam. It is a, and I'll tell you, the medication is going to kill me. It's going to make me die at a very much younger age than I would have died had I never gone on medication. Uh, I've already had two heart attacks. I have type 2 diabetes. I have heart disease from the medication. Um, I just ask you to think to yourself, think in your life, and I'm sure everybody knows somebody who's mentally ill or knows of somebody who's mentally ill or something. Um, I'm asking you, do you know anybody who's 80 and mentally ill and on psych meds? I bet you don't. I bet you don't know one single person that's 80 years old and on psych meds because they all die before they ever make 80. I would question if you 70, maybe, and that might be because of what drugs they're on or how when they got on them and stuff like that. So, and you know, like my roommate, he's on the same drug I'm on, 2,000 a month, and he's blind. He's not mentally ill, he's blind. But they don't care. They're giving him the drug because they're making money. And it's a lot to do with the mob. The mob's involved in all this. And, it's just a scam. He don't need no medication. He needs eyesight, you know? And of course they sold it to him that he needs it and he thinks he needs it. So he's not going to argue about not taking it. And he doesn't know it's killing him. He doesn't know it's going to shorten his life. But when you're looking at people being on Medicaid and Social Security for till their 90s, there's a real incentive to off people and to off them without knowing you're being offed. Poison slowly. And that's what they're doing. It's population control in reverse, ending the old people. And a lot of these old people, and the drug is in Vega that I'm on and he's on, and it's a shot. I get it once a month, and they also have a shot where the same name of the shot, but you get it once every 3 months, and I believe they have one that you can get once every 6 months. But it still does the same damage, and it doesn't matter how many pricks you get in your body. It's the fact that you're getting it in your body. And uh, I'm on a court order. A judge demanded that I take this drug. And, the judge don't know Jack from Jack. But, he's just a rubber stamp for the psychiatrist. And psychiatrists are losers. Beyond losers. I mean, I never met a psychiatrist that I wanted to hang out with more than 5 minutes. I mean, they're pieces of garbage. Um, you know, they have a degree. Big deal. Who cares? I know many people with degrees. I'd rather run them over with a steamroller than talk to them. They're garbage. And, it's just, I don't know. And now that they're pushing all these things on TV, on these shows, to make you think a certain way, it's all indoctrination. It's all brainwashing to make you think a certain, it's like artisan. Artisan was a big word, and it sort of isn't anymore, but it was a big word at one point. And anything that was artisan, you can imagine, was like 100% price increase. I remember there was a guy I think it was on the internet, was selling artisan pencils. He sharpened pencils. That's all he did. He didn't make the pencil. He just sharpened it, and he called it an artisan pencil. And he was charging $100 a pencil. And there were morons out there paying him. So, it's just they add these words like mindfulness and um, what do you call it? Coping skills, and it's all crap. It's all crap. And they ask you over and over, what's a coping skill? Oh, to pet my dog is a coping skill. To listen to my music is a coping skill. To blow my boyfriend is a coping skill. It's just, it's all crap. All crap. And they have to make money. They have to say something. So this is the crap that they're saying, and it's just crap. You know, it's like saying, and there's so much crap in this world. It's like saying two planes brought down the Twin Towers. They did an explosive brought down the Twin Towers. So it's just they had to fly the planes into the buildings to make you have a plausible deniability that yeah, it was probably the planes, but it wasn't. Nothing to do with the planes. The planes, if it was just the planes, the buildings would still be standing there. They'd be screwed, and that would be half the problem, because taking those buildings down, if they didn't come down the way they did, would have been a problem, and would have been very costly. The way it came down was the cheapest way to deal with it. And Silverstein, Silverman, whatever his name was, the owner of the Twin Towers, he was in on the whole thing. He made $40 billion on the whole thing. I mean, come on. It's just when there's money involved like this, you can't trust the soul. And the doctors, when the doctors made no money, you could trust them. Were there bad doctors? Of course there were. But the majority of the doctors were there to help you, not help themselves like they are today.